Hello everybody, Andrew Casey from Hypersanity books. Today we'll be talking about children's death and unfinished business. Probably one of the darker subjects to talk about, otherwise it's a bit of a lighter tone to the review. This is just a simple review about characterizations that may help with your writing. Otherwise, let's get into it. Number 10. Living environment.
Shut up, skin bag!
Piss off.
Take a hike!
Get a grade.
Honey! School thing, wanna be late, so
Drop dead. Too late.
One thing with this review, because it's a little bit different to some of the subject matter at hand, it's referencing to the Casper movie. I'm not too keen on Casper within the franchise. However, within the film it was alright. Steven Spielberg does a good job with characterizations. He also makes certain franchises better. With this situation, the living environment, it's known with between the ghostly trio, Casper, and then of course Dr. Harvey and his daughter Kat. Number 9. Complex trauma. There are 3 types of trauma to touch on. You have acute trauma.
Okay, it's like, if you don't come out, can I at least come in and talk to you?
Chronic trauma, which is repetitive trauma.
Well, as a therapist, I'm not allowed to tell you what to do. But as a human being with 2 eyes in my head, yeah, I think you should get divorced.
Then there is complex trauma. The focus on the complex trauma, and it does matter between characterizations,
Dad?
Hey! Who's the girl?
but the Dr. James Harvey character, after his traumatic death, he can't remember the events. He also cannot remember his own daughter, and there's a reason that happens. Within this subject matter, yes, Casper might be the protagonist, that's the focus of the case study, but between other characters who have died cannot remember certain parts of their life.
Cat. Oh, sweetheart. Oh, what have I done?
Number 8. The ghostly trio. One thing to understand with characterization, the ghostly trio matter within the circumstance because they are actually directly involved within Casper's trauma, which will be explained. The ghostly trio are not seen as individual characters, they are seen as one. This is also effective storytelling. Also, the comic books are written this way. The idea of the characterization between 3 protagonists, it's to keep consistency within the franchise, but the characters would not be separate from each other. So there wouldn't be an event where it's Fatso's story with Dr. James Harvey. The trio are together. They also feel that displacement because they're needing that fulfillment that they don't quite understand, because within the story there was another brother. Number 7. Casper's death. Casper's death is actually relevant within this story. Other adaptations don't hit on this subject matter like this one does. It's also similar to some of the storytelling in the other case study video I did about the Ghost Whisperer and finding resolutions. Resolution is the key point here. But with Casper, he can't remember his childhood. He starts to have vague memories within this part of dialogue.
I begged and begged my dad to get me this sled. And he acted like I couldn't even have it. Morning, I came down for breakfast and there it was, just for me. Went sledding all day and my dad said that's enough, but I couldn't stop. I was having so much fun. Got late, got dark, got cold, and I got sick. My dad got sad. I remember I didn't go where I was supposed to go. I just stayed behind so my dad wouldn't be lonely.
Is that your dad?
Mm-hmm. McFadden claimed that he was haunted by the ghost of his dead son, and that he invented a machine to bring him back to life. The Lazarus.
So Casper died at the young age, which brings the next question. Number 6. Everyone's unfinished business. This is one question that is interesting that gets asked because it doesn't get asked or answered within the film. But Casper's unfinished business is never having a childhood, never knowing what it is to grow up, not experiencing life. And there's a certain part of looking forward to the future and then not being able to have a future. So within Casper's unfinished business, it's because of how he died, which is where his unfinished business is entailed to never having a childhood. Now, that also implies to the ghostly trio within the film there was a deleted scene that confirmed that his 3 uncles are blood-related relatives. Now, with the 3 uncles, their trauma or their unfinished business is Casper not having resolution within his life. So within a story where characters don't want to find resolution because everything is tied into Casper, and the sad part with that is it's almost like a blame that it's the child's fault for dying. Number 5, the resolution you want will drive you to madness.
The living impaired are known for haunting us. My question is, what's haunting them? It's a lack of resolution.
The Dr. James Harvey character is driven mad.
You're not gonna find her. Mom's not a ghost, Dad.
Oh, yes, she is. She has unfinished business.
Over the death of his wife. He is trying to find what he thinks is the possible resolution and driven to madness doing it.
You go with me this one last time. If I don't find what I'm looking for, then it's over. No more moving, no more ghost mining.
Casper's father is also proven to go insane, as it shows within part of the story that there was another brother that the ghostly trio can't quite remember, and he was taken to the loony bin before completing the Lazarus machine. With that type of resolution, should you or should you not bring someone back from the dead? So there is that type of concern within the story to the resolution. Both characters, however, between Casper's father, that was a posthumous character that's not actually seen within the story, and then Dr. James Harvey, both characters are driven mad with the resolution they think they want. And that's also important when it comes to very impossible situations. And facing child death is not something that you wish on other people.
Come on, Dr. Harvey. You need this more than I do. Casper. This is the way it's gotta be. Dad?
Oh, Cat. Oh, Cat.
That was a very noble thing you did tonight, Casper. I know Kat will never forget it. She needs her father. And I know yours will never forget it either. You fulfilled his greatest dream, Casper. And I know he is very, very proud of you.
Number 4, making peace. One thing I find interesting with storytelling, and I noticed this was something that was done well with Forrest Gump with the Lieutenant Dan character, is a character goes through a huge transformation through the story, but they're not the main character. I like this type of storytelling. It feels more authentic because it's not just about the protagonist. So with Dr. James Harvey, he does have that reuniting with his wife, who's an angel. He is a flawed character. He might be a therapist, but he's a flawed character. With this scenario, though, it leads to a positive resolution for him to live his life as a father, but what he really needs, as to what was previously said within the story, instead of chasing that resolution to try to find his deceased wife, thinking she's a ghost, what he needs to do is actually interact with other people and get some clients that are actual humans and try to help them with different problems. And by interacting with certain people, he will start to feel more sane again. Though going through hard situations, it's not uncommon for a therapist to need a therapist. Number 3, what do you want?
You know and I know that you really shouldn't be here, so I'll tell you what. Why don't you go ahead and finish your meal, and you can meet in my office and start the process of crossing over. What do you say?
With difficult situations and difficult subject matter, that is the big question to ask. And there are different ways to go about it. There was a possibility for a sequel that didn't happen, and I felt like it deserved it. With the storytelling, if you are writing characters like this with difficult situations, the big question to ask is, what do they want? And it could be left where the story just ends where it does, and no one finds that sort of resolution because they find the resolution is being content with what they have. As previously said, the ghostly trio with their trauma and their unfinished business is all tied into Casper. So unless Casper crosses over, it's really hard for them to cross over. And I don't think they want to. The other subject matter is, would Dr. James Harvey help with therapy, or would he be too involved to need an outside opinion to help him solve a problem? So the big question is, what do you want? So when you're writing characters like this with different experiences, it's handy to think about what is best for each character that you have within a story and how directly or indirectly involved they are. Number 2, infinite crisis. Casper, he is stuck at the mentality of a 12-year-old. So with the cat story, there was a little bit of a friendship romance part put within the story. It was also done respectfully, especially considered the age group.
If I were alive, would you go to the Halloween dance with me? Mm-hmm. Cat? Hmm? Can I keep you? Mm-hmm. Can I keep you? Casper?
So there's something to think about with storytelling and where characters are at, and this sort of age gap relationship as characters like this stay in that same category. It's sort of like with the Twilight franchise. It touched on how he would stay the same age as a teenager that's traumatic. And I don't understand that with vampire stories where characters keep going back to school to relive in those teen years instead of trying to get into young adult world. They go back to high school or have high school romance. I don't get that. I don't get the attraction. With a child trauma, we're talking about something even more complicated. So with the characterization, that's something to think about with different stories. And sometimes there's that mental gap of being stuck in an infinite crisis because he can't move on with his life. And would she be holding her life back to facilitate for his life? And that's one thing to think about. Friends will come and friends will go. And there are some friends that we have in life that we see sometime later and pick up where we left off. Number 1, fan theory that may ruin your childhood. This is a theory, so I'm just going to play the video from my other video about this theory and have a think about it with these particular points, because there's 2 theories that are unresolved within the franchise that I think might be effective for your writing when you keep some mystery within your stories.
The sudden death of her only father has left a great gaping void in her bank, in her life.
Daughter, Kerrigan, Whipstaff Manor in Maine.
I just spent the last 2 days holding his clammy hand, waiting for him to kick, and all I get in return is one lousy piece of property.
I think she might be related to Casper. She might even be his sister, younger sister. So the father may have been so obsessed with Casper that it's forgotten about her. She probably has a lot of different trauma in her character.
You keep that ghoul Crittenden off our backs, and I'd say we got a deal.
It's your house. You're haunting it. Possession is 9/10 of the law.
Yeah, so that is one particular theory that may ruin your childhood. Although there is another point about Harvey's death. Now remember, the Lazarus machine is to turn a ghost back into a human to who they were.
We're gonna lose it until we lose it. Come on, come on.
Harvey might be here, but his dead body is still rotting in the ground. Otherwise, that's it for today. Hit like, subscribe, comment, and I will be posting more videos soon. If you have any other case study suggestions on characterizations, I might be able to put some sort of twist on it and see where we go. Otherwise, good luck with your writing.